Welcome to Lady Mary Bath. In the age of reduce, reuse, recycle, we are going to rediscover ways to use serveware from our grandmother's era. These sandwich servers were made by glass companies in the 1930s through the 1960s. Tiffin, Cambridge, Fostoria, Duncan Miller were all wonderful companies that had great artisans that created unique handles and edges. These were made in different glass colors, elegant glass of the Depression era, pink and green and blue, and even silver overlay and opalescent. We will find new ways to use the vintage sandwich server. The rose bowl is one of my favorite tabletop essentials. This is a large rose bowl, and I'm sure that you can imagine many uses for this. But I think I'll surprise you today and show you yet more that you would never have thought of. Let's rediscover this rose bowl, often referred to as a bubble bowl by florists, so that you can add this to your home. And many of these are available on eBay for $60 and under. If you're not looking brand specific, you can even find them for $20. So I recommend that you peek in and add this to your collection. These divided dishes were often referred to by our grandmothers as relish dishes. This is a fine example by the Cambridge Glass Company, and this is the Rose Point pattern, which was their most popular and most beautiful. We will look at many uses for the divided dishes. This intaglio, a design integrated dish, is vintage, and I'm not sure of the origin. I found it at a thrift store recently for $7, and I just had to have it. I like the beautiful koi fish and the legumes and the flower. I think that this could be featured just by itself as a piece of art or decor in your home. But we will find an interesting use for the intaglio divided dish. Your grandmother may have referred to this as a sandwich server, and that was the traditional name. But I like to see other opportunities to use this wonderful handled piece. It's easy to pick up. It makes for a nice, interesting serving item on your table. Let me show you some of the uses we have found for this antique item. The Fostoria Colony handled simple server is practical in many ways. For example, this you could use to store your K-cups, and of course you could stack them and fit lots more. I like it because it's original and it's not the typical K-cup server, and very practical to move back and forth to refill. The fleur-de-lis handled sandwich server is perfect and easy to grip and lift. I like the etching underneath that adds a lot of interest, and the pink glass that's elegant from the Depression era showcases it nicely. We've just got simple chocolate chip cookies. You could add anything you like. It's easy to carry to the dining table or to the living area if you have unexpected company and you want to serve something quickly. The clear fleur-de-lis handled server that's also etched is very practical. Here we've featured some mini croissants for breakfast. You could even remove half of the croissants and place a couple of jellies in glass dishes, and that way it's integrated, it's one piece and easy to pass on the table. The sterling silver overlay sandwich server has a nice handle to it that almost forms a heart shape, and I use this often for bulky jewelry that doesn't fit as well in my jewelry box and pieces that I wear often. I find that it's easy to grab and go, and it looks nice on my dresser. The Fostoria Colony handled server with its scalloped edge makes a nice statement. Here we have essentials for our guests that we can place in the guest bath so that when they arrive, if they've forgotten something, then everything is at hand and they do not have to ask for anything and they feel welcome. Also from Fostoria Glass Company, we have a circular handle that has sort of a sunburst, and here we are featuring bath fizz and bath bombs. These are lots of fun for the bath, and they look pretty and they smell good when displayed on this item. And these are the many uses for the rose bowl. The classic floral centerpiece, this actually is the original intent of a rose bowl. And I know that this looks complicated, but it was actually quite easy. I went to the grocery store and for $9.99 bought a bundle, simply made underwater cuts, especially for the rose, kept the bundle together and placed it in the rose bowl, and it took about 3 minutes. And look what a pretty centerpiece we have. The beauty of this is it could be on a coffee table or placed on a dinner table, and it does not obstruct the view of the person across from you, so it's nice to have a low floral. And I think it's always classic. And this is a glass rose bowl that has been gold and silver leafed by a local artisan. And I've simply placed an LED flickering candle inside of it, and that makes for a great ambiance, either for a living room. You could also place it as a centerpiece. It's just really nice to have a little light. The small Ronin rose bowl from Waterford Crystal is very useful. Here I've got some pins in it. You could keep it on your desk. I can also imagine some tea roses. I like the fact that it has a small opening, which means that you won't have to put very many flowers, and yet it can still hold pens and pencils on your desk to add sparkle. This is the rose bowl that I wake up to every morning. I keep it beside my bathroom sink with my toothbrush and toothpaste and sometimes my dental floss, and I enjoy seeing a pretty piece of crystal and knowing that it has many uses. And if I ever needed more rose bowls for an event, I would just simply remove these items and clean it, and I've got easy storage for this item. A creative use for the rose bowl is for tissues. I just bought some tissues on clearance that had a Christmas pattern on the box, and I removed the whole piece, placed it in here, and then pulled up the first Kleenex. This is the Marquis by Waterford Calais Rose Bowl. It has a large opening, so I don't use it for flowers as much because it would require probably about 4 to 5 times as many as we have in our rose bowl here today. But I think for Kleenexes, it's absolutely perfect and pretty. Here we have a mid-size rose bowl that's got beautiful cuts on it. This is not an antique. This is actually one that you can find today in gift stores. And wrapped candies are perfect because it's got a nice size opening, and you could still do something useful or creative with it, or just something normal like candies. You could use this as the center of a platter with the dipping sauce, many purposes. A large cut crystal rose bowl is not only meant for a centerpiece. Here I have a beautiful rose that was created by a friend for me using silk fabrics. Imagine a flower floating in this, or a candle. You could even put potpourri. It's very useful, and I like the way that the light hits it. This small crystal rose bowl with the swirl cuts is one of my favorites. Of course, you could do a small arrangement, but I like to use it on my buffet for dessert spoons. It doesn't take up much space. You're not putting the forks or the spoons flat on the table, and it adds interest and gives another element and height to your table. There are many uses for modern and antique divided dishes. One of my favorites is the Mariposa 3-part server, and I'm using this in my beverage center with guests, and I place the ice scoop in the middle, that way any drips are contained here, and I like to tie a festive bow to go with my theme. And we've got fresh, right off the tree, Meyer lemons cut up for iced tea, and our sugars are off to this side. And it's a nice contained area for our beverage bar and showcased nicely. The Cambridge Rose Point 3-part dish is not only beautiful and elegant, but it's purposeful. Here we've placed 3 different types of candies and added a bonbon spoon for serving. If this were a celebration, I could see festive ribbons to fit your colors tied here, and it's a nice handle for lifting. I could also see maybe a baked potato bar and a couple of toppings. It's just lovely and elegant, and a reminder of time gone by. This is a sweet oval divided dish, and I like the fact that it's deep. You could do so many things with it. Here I've just showcased some of my favorite Pepperidge Farm cookies, the Brussels, and I made chocolate chip cookies today. So here you see we've just simply placed cookies for maybe one neighbor that drops by. You offer them a glass of tea and you put this out. And that way you don't feel like you need a big platter with a large assortment, especially if they're just a couple of people. It's very practical. The Mariposa heart divided dish is perfect, and I like the fact that it's got the heart design carried throughout with the handle. And I've placed some Valentine candies. It doesn't just have to be for Valentine's because it's a heart. I can see this on an anniversary and many other celebrations. The Waterford Lismore 3-part dish is very practical. Here we've had a couple of neighbors drop by, so we wanted to put something together quickly. We have some cheese cubes, Ritz crackers, and strawberries. Just for a couple of people, it's perfect, or it could be part of your buffet. And I've just used a lemon fork for the cheese cubes, and I see so many uses for this item. This is a footed 3-part dish. And I can imagine this would be great for ice cream toppings or fudge sundaes. You could get creative with the small spaces, and I like the fact that it is elevated. The sterling base with the gadroon border adds a lot of interest to our etched Cambridge item. And it's just perfect for a small gathering. We've got some peanuts and chocolate covered pecans with our bonbon spoon. It's got a nice edging. You'll find so many variations of divided and 3-part dishes. The large oblong server that we saw earlier that's divided into 4 sections with the intaglio design on back, you're probably thinking that would be a vegetable tray, which is not a bad idea. I'm sure that was its original use, with celery and carrots and maybe a small bowl with dip. We have actually turned this into an office item. This will sit on the desk full of our accessories. Let me show you. Here we've got something from the bath department at Target that's a clear cup with a divided area here for our pens and scissors. And these are little silicone vessels that I got at Target, $2.50 for a pack of 4. And we've added paper clips. Of course, these can be picked up and moved around. We've got Post-it notes and a stapler, and I can see so much more added to this area. But it gives you an idea of how an item like this could be used for a completely different purpose away from the table. I hope that you have enjoyed finding new uses for vintage serveware to enhance your home and add interest to your table and desk. Next time you are at a thrift store or Goodwill, I hope that you give these items a second look, knowing the many ways that you can use them. It's always a good idea to reuse purposeful items and create memories with them.